This broadcast of In Focus is being made possible through the support of Reed Health. Reed Health, right beside you. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together. Hi, welcome to this episode of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. No, we didn't get a fancy new set for In Focus, although I've had some people tell me we should get rid of the television antennas. That may come in the future. We are actually on the set of the Third Sector, which is hosted by Rachel Hughes, who is a development officer for the Wayne County Foundation, and as I mentioned, host of the Third Sector, which appears on WETV, Channel 20, part of the Whitewater Community Television family of stations. For those of you that are very familiar with this channel, WGTV, Channel 11, our government access channel. We also have WETV, our educational access channel on Channel 20, and our public access channel, WCTV, on Channel 21. Rachel's show has been on WETV, and you've been hosting that from its inception, question mark?
Forever.
It's
seems
a
like
long
it, doesn't
time.
it?
Yeah.
The show was actually begun before I came on as the host. When I took over, Ruth Mills was the host, and I believe at that time she was at Richmond Art Museum. And I believe this was her brainchild. She started it as a way to introduce nonprofits to the community. And when it came time for her to kind of step aside, she asked me to consider hosting. And I accepted. And
that was about how long ago? I've been here for almost 10 years, and you were here before me, so.
We taped the first show that I hosted was in November 2006.
Okay.
Yes. So
nice.
We're coming up on 13 years. Not 13 years, I can't count. 16 years.
16 years. That's
Would that be
quite
right?
a while.
No, 13 years. I was right the first time.
Whatever. It's been a long time. As you stepped into the show, as you and Ruth talked about what the Third Sector should be, was, what was the thought process? And as you took over as host, what did you change? What evolved? What's different?
It has changed over time. To be honest, I can't remember back that far. I'd have to go back and watch some of the shows, but the premise has remained the same.
Okay.
We use the show as a way to highlight the nonprofits in the community. And viewers out there are probably aware nonprofits operate on a shoestring budget most of the time. Of course, you've got your larger ones, the NFL, the really big nonprofits.
Hard to believe that they're a not-for-profit, but they are.
It is, isn't it? We don't have those around here. We've got the small organizations, Cope Center, Boys and Girls Club, Girls Incorporated, the organizations that are just really touching the hearts of our community and doing good work. They don't have $1 million budget for advertising. And so we use the show as a platform to let the community know the good works that they're doing.
Okay. What have you changed from the time you took over however many years ago to now? What has changed in the focus, the thought process, how guests are selected, why guests are selected? Do you look at their calendars and what they have coming up, or what's your thought?
I do look at a lot of different things. I try to keep a variety so that I don't have the same organizations on year after year, but look at all of the things that are represented in our community. So education, the arts, youth serving organizations, organizations that are helping animals, serving the seniors, and then cultural organizations. I mean, we have so many in our community. I could probably interview one a week and not get through them all in a year. But I don't think I've changed a whole lot of the format because I felt when I took over that it had a good format, that doing 2 shows in an episode was a good way to introduce people to the organizations, but not really just drag that out to the point where they stopped listening. Okay. And we do try to direct them to websites and Facebook pages and things like that where they can learn more, get more information after the show.
Has the number of not-for-profits, as far as you can tell, grown or decreased in the community through the years?
You know, I should have done some research so I could answer that. It feels to me like it has increased, but at the same time, I know that we've had organizations that have ceased to exist. But it feels like there's always someone there to pick up that mission, to make sure that in our community, people are receiving the help that they need, that animals are being cared for, and that we do maintain the arts and the culture in our community. And most of that is done through our nonprofit organizations.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I know we look a little different if you're just tuning in. We are speaking with Rachel Hughes, who is the host of The Third Sector, which is the set that we are sitting on. Rachel has had a chance to interview me once or twice as I've been executive director of Whitewater Community Television, which is a not-for-profit organization, whether you're aware of that or not. This is the first time I think I've had you in the hot seat, as it were.
It is.
How is it?
Well, I normally sit in this seat to do my show, but, you know, now this is tougher. I've got to come up with answers really quick. So, you know, I don't have a cheat sheet in front of me there. So.
Got to do the cheat sheet thing. Now, how did Darla Lane come into it? Because Darla was, for a period of time, kind of the co-host. You exchanged months on that. How did that come about?
In my work at the foundation, I'm really busy. And it became apparent to me that it was going to be difficult for me to have a show every month, given the schedule that I have at work. And so I asked Darla, who at that time was at Birth to Five and very much involved in the nonprofit community, to come on as a co-host. So we took every other month. And although she was busy too, by dividing the work, it was more manageable for us to do it that way. But then there came a time when her work got to be too busy, and since then I've just been handling it on my own.
I'm not sure people really understand, even on a once-a-month basis, what it's like trying to find guests, book guests, make sure they show up for the taping.
And don't forget.
Bring required materials. You've got a lot of those behind you. Are there any organizations that you've talked to that have really kind of stuck out for whatever reason when you've talked to them?
Oh, it would be hard to pick one because I just have such a passion for helping people and connecting people. And even if it was a bad interview, we've still gotten information out to the community. So they may not have been comfortable. When I say a bad interview, I mean that they were nervous or uncomfortable and felt like that they just didn't do the job that they wanted to. In the end, we let the community know about important things that they were doing. And that's really my mission with this program, is just to let folks know what's going on in their community.
You're watching In Focus on WGTV Channel 11. I'm just not actually killing time. One of the reasons we started this out with Rachel is obviously she's focused on not-for-profits with her program. And the back part of this show, we're actually going to kind of do an update on a couple of not-for-profits that we've talked to here on In Focus. We have tried to do a number of different things. We've talked to governments, we've talked to educational leaders, we've talked to not-for-profits, and we're going to catch up on a couple of not-for-profits. But it also gives us a chance to talk to Rachel and talk about one of the other shows that you can find here on the Whitewater Community Television family of stations. As a member of the foundation is incredibly involved in the life of a lot of not-for-profits that I'm not sure the community completely understands. If they're not involved with a not-for-profit, as far as being on a board or being an executive director, they may not understand how much the foundation actually impacts, not just financially, not-for-profits in this community. Can you talk about a little bit of that work?
We do try to approach the community from several standpoints. We talk about gathering, stewarding, and leading, and those are some key points that we do. You know, gathering is fairly obvious. We try to gather people together that have a passion for helping others, stewarding them, making sure they have good information when they make decisions about gifts in the community. Gifts to those nonprofits. But then also leading is a point that I think a lot of folks don't associate with the foundation. They think of us as giving money out through grants and through scholarships. And we found that people relate to us, think of us as how they relate to us. So if they're a student, they think about scholarships. If they're a nonprofit, they think about grants. If they're a donor, they think about gift annuities or estates or wills and that type of thing. But the foundation also leads projects in our community. One that we are doing this year that I'm really proud of is we are bringing the Lilly School of Philanthropy and SPIA through IUPUI.
And SPIA is?
SPIA, oh, don't ask me. I can't think what the letters stand for.
Okay.
It's part of the business school at IU.
Okay.
I'll think of the letters about halfway back home in a minute. But they offer trainings and different things for nonprofits, profits alike. But the foundation partnered with the Stam Koshline Foundation and the Ronald McDaniel Foundation to bring training to our community. So if a nonprofit, for example, went to Indianapolis, a leader went to Indianapolis to take this training, it would cost them about $5,000. By the time they paid for the 4 courses, drove back and forth, or had overnight housing, the food that they would consume, and the different factors. We all partnered together to bring that here because we felt that the nonprofits don't have a lot of training opportunities that are affordable for them. And through the grants that the 3 foundations put together, we were able to offer this to our nonprofit executives for around $1,000 apiece. That's for the full certification program that would normally cost $5,000. That's one of the ways that the foundation is leading in the community, by doing things that help our nonprofits do their job better, for lack of any better way to say it.
Sure.
So we do those types of trainings. We offer networking lunches so they can come together. Because what we find sometimes, especially in our grant process, we may see 2 organizations doing the same thing and not realizing they're doing the same thing. When we have the nonprofit luncheons, they talk about these, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes on. Aha, we're doing the same thing. Let's do it together, make it stronger. Pool our resources. And so that's just another example of how the foundation leads in the community.
Do you find that there are, because not-for-profit work can be consuming, all-consuming sometimes for their executive directors, that we being not-for-profits, end up in our silos and really don't fully understand what other people are doing and how we can connect with them?
When I came to the community about 26 years ago, I would have said yes, absolutely. At that time, I worked for United Way and was still working with nonprofits. And we found that there really was not a lot of communication at that time. In fact, there was almost what they call in our business turf wars. You stay on your side, I'm going to stay on my side, we're going to do our business, but by golly, here's the line. I'm really proud to say that we don't have so much of that anymore. We are seeing a lot of collaboration and cooperation with the nonprofits. Just exactly as I said, having those aha moments. If I have a similar program to yours, why are we duplicating this? Let's come together on this. Or if one nonprofit is doing a program that can benefit by partnering with another, even if they're not the same program, but they're complementary in some way, we're seeing those partnerships happen. And I'm really proud of our community for having this foresight and going forward with that.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11, and you are watching In Focus, but we're speaking with Rachel Hughes, who is the host of The Third Sector, and we're sitting on her set. We have a large number And neither one of us really know what that number is. We have a large number of not-for-profit organizations doing a number of different things, from birth to five to what we do, which is media. All of us have boards of directors, individuals within the community who take some of their time to help lead and guide these organizations. Talk a little bit, if you would, about responsible board members, how someone can think about, train for becoming a board member of an organization, because it's an incredible responsibility. I will say that I look at board membership differently now that I'm an executive director than I was when someone first approached me to be on a board, and I look back now and think, I was a lousy board member. Talk a little bit about that, and even the foundation's work to try to bring not-for-profits and community members together.
That's another way the foundation leads. Every other year we do an event called All Aboard. And that is a time for nonprofits to say, hey, I need board members. And we do it kind of like a job fair. So you'll have an information table set up. People that are interested in serving on a nonprofit board will come in, and they can walk around and talk to as many nonprofits as they want to. And we encourage them to look for ones that meet their passion, their focus, what they really want to do. And then to have those deeper conversations, excuse me, about what's involved in being a board member for that organization. Because it can vary a lot. Mm-hmm. Some are really hands-on boards. Some are come to our meeting once a month boards. The other thing that we try to do then that same year, we try to follow it up with a board training. A lot of times it will be someone from Board Source or a nationally recognized organization that comes in and does a one-day training with those new board members, as well as the established members of that board as a group. So you're not sitting next to me, you're sitting next to your fellow board members, learning together, hearing the same message together. So that's another way the foundation leads and helps the nonprofit community. Being a good board member is tough. And I don't think you're alone when you said, I was a lousy board member, I had no idea. I do offer training to nonprofit organizations for boards and fundraising and different things like that. Mm-hmm. And it's tough for the nonprofits to even understand sometimes what they need in a board member. Yeah. So then it's hard for them to tell a volunteer what they need in a board member. And we can help them. We've got materials that we can share with them. I can come and talk with the executive director or the staff and help them think through that process. And then we can also help them do a mini board training, just to really talk through the legal aspects of being a board member. You know, you are financially responsible for that organization.
Don't scare them off.
I always say that, and then I said, don't let that scare you off, though. But there are so many responsibilities for a board member that I think people do not understand or take too lightly sometimes. And I think, again, that's where the foundation can help them understand that and come together and have some conversations between board and staff to build a stronger board.
Okay. And by the way, if you think you might be interested in being a board member for Whitewater Community Television, we are having actually a board open house on Tuesday, July 16th, here at the WCTV studio. You can come, you can talk to some of our current board members and get an idea of what being a board member for this organization might be. And we'll be bringing in some new board members at our annual meeting in September. So just kind of setting the stage for that. For someone, last question, because I know you've got to go and I appreciate your time, but there have been times where folks like me who don't have a background, now you can go to school, you can get a degree, you can study not-for-profit work, so you kind of know what you are stepping into. Others like me tend to sometimes just step into it. If someone is thinking about applying for a job as an executive director at a not-for-profit organization, and they may have a skill set that matches, but they don't have that background, what's a couple of quick things that maybe they need to think about before they step into that world? Because it's different than being in a commercial business.
It is very different. And the thing for a nonprofit is you don't have a bottom line. Like in a for-profit business, the bottom line is financial usually. Are we making a profit or not? In nonprofit, it doesn't mean that you're not making money, but that financial piece isn't how you measure your success most of the time. Are you reaching people? Are you changing lives? Are you making a difference? That's your bottom line, and it's really hard to measure that. So as an executive director, my advice would be, first of all, understand the mission of that organization and make sure that it is a passion that you share. Because it's going to be really hard to be an effective leader if you're working somewhere where you don't have the passion for what you're promoting, what you're raising money for, what you're trying to tell other people to do. So that would be my first point. And check out the organization. Are they fiscally sound? Do they have a board of directors? Do the board members have term limits? Or have some of them been on your board for 30 years? You want to find out how healthy is that organization before you step in and take over the helm, so you know what you're inheriting. And the other thing I would encourage people to do is get training. The certification class that I just talked about has components to it. You don't have to take the whole certification class. You can go and take any of these classes through the School of Philanthropy in Indianapolis. Many are offered online. It's a great resource for our nonprofit leaders, and it can be affordable. So that's a good way to really dig deeper, maybe, than you would just stepping into the work and going in blindly.
Rachel, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Not just for doing this interview, but for the time that I know you take to put your show together every month and for the length of time that you've been volunteering to do that for the community. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
If you haven't had a chance to see The Third Sector, it airs Thursday nights, 8:30 on WETV Channel 20 on Comcast Cable. And if you'd like to show some episodes to someone who does not have Comcast Cable, episodes are also available on our YouTube channel. Take a short break. We're going to do an update with one of our not-for-profit organizations that we spoke to before as we continue with In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11.
I'm Rachel Hughes, host of The Third Sector. Join me this month and my guests who are representing the Star Jeanette Foundation and the Model T Museum.
We bring a lot of people from all over the world, really. You look at our visitor book and you'll see that we bring a lot of people to Richmond, Wayne County. We're really proud of that.
The Third Sector airs Thursdays at 8:30 on WETV Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television in Richmond and host of Eastern Indiana Works. On our next episode, we'll speak with Fred Payne, Commissioner of the Department of Workforce Development for the state of Indiana, and Mike Rao, President and CEO of Eastern Indiana Works. We'll talk to them about the JAG program, Jobs for America's Graduates. Eastern Indiana Works, Tuesday nights at 10:30 on WETV, Channel 20. And welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television. Glad you're able to join us for this program as we take a look at just got finished talking to Rachel Hughes from the Third Sector, and we're doing some updates with some of the not-for-profit organizations that we've talked to through time here on In Focus. And over the last number of years, we've had a chance to talk to various presidents of the United Way of Whitewater Valley. We haven't had a chance to speak to its current president, so we're going to get an update on the United Way by talking with Paul Stanley, president of the United Way. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
Obviously, being president of the United Way and being around the community for a while, a lot of people know who you are, but not everybody does. So give us a little bit of background about how you found Richmond.
Oh my gosh, we're going back that far. All right, so I originally came to Richmond in 1994. I graduated from Earlham in 1998. Okay. So I'm originally from Gary, Indiana.
Right.
I've been in this community ever since. I usually tell people I drank the water and never left. So I'm here. I've been here. I've had a very long career in mental health for about 20 years before I took this position.
Okay.
And I was on a board for 2 years prior to me becoming the president. So.
What was it that drew you to the United Way?
You know, I was literally sitting in a meeting, and my predecessor was sitting, and she was giving a presentation about the United Way and what they specifically they provided for the community. Mm-hmm. And it really intrigued me to be a part of that process, because they really do a lot of positive things and really helping a lot of non-for-profit organizations with a lot of programs that I was really involved with in working with mental health.
We hear the United Way a lot, particularly if you're a football watcher. There's a lot of football players who get involved with the United Way, but not everyone comes from a community that has a United Way in it. I didn't. So talk a little bit about what it is they do, how they operate here in the community.
Okay, we are a fundraising organization. We help fund 501(c) organizations and programs. More specifically, if you think about the Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc., Genesis program, those are the kind of programs and organizations that we actually focus on funding. So we help raise awareness and funds in this specific community, Wayne and Union County. So we're Wayne and Union County, and in those two counties to help support a lot of those programs. So.
I've been here long enough to remember there used to be the thermometer on everybody remembered that. That went away a while ago. How has the United Way continued to engage the community in the giving campaigns?
The thermometer scared me.
Did it?
Just a little bit. But so there are a lot of volunteer opportunities. We actually have a meeting on a quarterly basis with all of our funded partners where we actually sit down and talk about what's going on in the community and how the United Way can actually help contribute. I try to be as vocal and in the community as much as I possibly can, just to make sure that everybody is aware of the impact that the United Way has on the organizations that it helps fund. So I mean, we have a Facebook following. We have multiple updates on our website, and I've become a volunteer in many different events. So really, I'm just trying to make sure that everybody still understands what United Way does, and just make sure that we are still continuing to be relevant in this community.
Years ago, there was giving to just a number of organizations. That's how the money was divided up. Within the last decade, that has changed a little bit in that the United Way created what were called vision councils. There were 4 of them. Talk about that process and remind people of what those vision councils are, what they're focused on, and how the dissemination of money maybe has changed a little bit over time.
Okay. Do you remember what they were?
I don't remember all of them.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
so help me.
So youth and families.
Okay.
Education, health, and community vitality. So those are the 4 specific areas that we focus on. And we've actually added a second funding cycle where we actually have focused on the HUG population. So this is
the HUD population.
HUG. Hand up, it means hand up guidance. So these are the people who are actually struggling to get out of poverty. When people don't understand how difficult it is to get out of poverty to being able to function. So we actually, this occurs in July, where we actually funded the last 2 years affordable child care and food insecurity.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to announce what's going to be the 3rd area we're going to focus on this year. But backing up, when we talk about the 4 areas that we focus on, we decided as a board and that we combined all of the vision councils together. So we can all speak in unison when it comes to the amount of money that we award. This year we received 37 applications, which is amazing.
Is that up or down from where you've been?
We had 32 the year before.
All right.
32 the year before. We were able to fund 25 organizations this year. So an allocation committee that is made up specifically of community members from each vision council come together. We have scoring tools, and we disseminate where the money is being distributed. And based on your score, that's how you actually is determine how much money that you actually receive. So the strength of your application really plays a key role in that decision.
Has there been an emphasis within the United Way of trying to train some of the not-for-profits in writing better grant proposals or collaborating with other organizations to make a stronger proposal?
I have spoke to a few different other organizations just about that, because I have been approached about that specific question. Because if you do not have history in writing grants, it can be a difficult process, and people notice that when they're actually reading the grants on the allocation committee. So I've actually just extended the olive branch to other organizations in the community just to see if we can actually get something together to actually work on that process. Because I actually do an information, prior to me releasing the grant application, I do an information sharing meeting where I actually go over the application, all of the steps, and what people need to do to fill out the application. That's always not, how can I put this? They need more. They need more help, and just with that process. So I'm looking into that just to see what more help can be provided in writing grants. Because it's a very specific talent.
The HUG grants that you all have been giving. Is that money disseminated in the same way? There's an application process.
Yes, exactly.
You all go through.
It's just a smaller we received 11 applications last year for that, and we had 7 grantees awarded. So it's a smaller process, and I don't need 15 people in a room to figure out 11 applications. So, but yeah, it's a smaller process.
As you all look at the need, and one of the things the United Way does is look at the needs of the community. Have the needs changed? Have the needs grown? What are you all seeing as you sit around a table looking at the applications, looking at the organizations, looking at the projects that they're trying to fund? And it's not really the organization, it's the project or that they want to try to do. Are you seeing more of a need in this community right now?
I'm seeing more of a need in relationship to food insecurity. Substance abuse, which is huge.
Yes.
And when we talk about the level of services that our children receive, it's always a need, and it's always increasing. If you look at all of the organizations that we fund, a majority of them actually have some interaction with children in some way, shape, or form. So that's always been a huge need in this community. But off the top of my head, substance abuse, food insecurity, and a really big need is affordable child care in this community. Specifically like second shift. Like we have a lot of factory industries around here, but second shift child care is something there's not a lot of it around here.
Child care. Age that you're thinking about, because people get different thoughts when you say child care. You're talking about babies, or you're talking about second grade. What kind of age group are you talking about?
So I'm thinking just babies, and specifically the age range between like 5 and 10. The Boys and Girls Club and Girls Inc. offer a lot of summer programs that we actually help fund to actually help with that process as well. But when you start thinking about the second shift and people who work third shift, there aren't too many child care facilities that actually take in kids. A lot of our kids are being watched by family members at those hours of the night, so it becomes difficult for people to maintain their daily living. So,
Okay. There's a change, or when you read about it, you hear that there may be a change in the way the next couple of generations behind ours do their giving. Are you finding that that giving has changed, whether it's in the amount or how or when, and how have you all been able to change what you do or alter what you do or modify how you look at things in order to be able to still fulfill your needs?
Strategic, so I'll answer that question twofold. Strategically, we have an amazing board, and we're beginning just to notice just different trends and changes of things that are occurring. So we developed a strategic plan where we're looking at ways of reaching that younger generation. I'm not going to give them a title, but the younger generation, they choose to give differently, more so with their time. And actually, they want an explanation of where their dollar is going, how it's being used. So we have noticed that. We have invited younger members onto our board who have specific education and knowledge in relationship to how to reach those populations. Because yes, I mean, it makes me feel old, but it's true. The times are changing, and we need to make sure that we're adjusting to those changes so that we can be as effective as we can with our fundraising. So.
We've got about 3 minutes left to go in this segment. Talk a little bit about one of the programs that United's Way has funded for a period of time. We had Leslie Bolzer in the studio very early in the year. She spent a half hour almost talking to Phil Quinn about the More Than Words program, which is something that the United Way here has been funding for a period of time and continues to be a program that United Way continues to support. Why do you continue to support that program, and what are you seeing as far as metrics, as far as is that an effective use of the dollars? Have you seen progress?
Yeah, so the More Than Words program, so I was not familiar with More Than Words until I came onto the board. But once I actually sat down and talked to Leslie and what she does in this community, it's amazing. So she's in a lot of our schools and encouraging just, when we think about the generation that's coming up, everybody's on their phone. Everybody's, the social media is just everywhere. But Leslie's kind of getting back to that, using words, talking to people, the definition of words. And she's explaining that through a lot of the different schools within our community. And it's amazing that everybody has invited her into the schools because they see the positive impact that she is having. And I mean, just to understand, the More Than Words program is not funded through our funding cycle.
Right.
It is 100% just funded specifically by us and not from donations, because we feel like that it has that much of an impact in the community. And we really think very highly of Leslie.
You and I have had a chance to spend some time in a room with another group of executive directors of not-for-profit organizations, and there are a lot of them. Talk about what volunteer opportunities or how people can connect with the United Way and be involved in what you all are doing to help this community.
So specifically with the volunteer opportunities, we have a lot of organizations, companies that actually contribute financially to the United Way, but they also in turn look for volunteer opportunities. When you think about the Hills Pet Food, Milestones, Wolverine, they actually look for volunteer opportunities within the community. So what I tell my funded partners and other organizations is that, hey, if you have volunteer opportunities, please let me know, because I will let our funded partners and our organizations know so they can reach out to you so you can potentially have the chance just to volunteer for some of these amazing places. So, yeah.
And one more thing, we've talked about your funding cycle, your organization, and how you all divvy up the money. There's some people who still might want to give to the United Way, but they want to know that their dollars can be directed to where they want them to go. Is that still an option with the United Way?
Yes, it is. So in the course of this year, I've had over 76 presentations. That's come up about 40 times. That if they wanted to specifically give their money to a different organization, yes, you can. You can actually designate where you want your specific money to go, what specific organization you want your money to go to, as long as they're a 501(c)(3) or a nonprofit organization. But we've had a lot of people that specifically donate their money to an organization that they really feel close to their heart. So that is still an option, yes.
Great.
Yes.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate you actually having me on the show.
Great. Paul Stanley, President of the United Way of Whitewater Valley, part of the organizations that we've been catching up with and doing some updates on this In Focus. We're going to get a short video from some of the students from the Western Wayne BPA, Lincoln High School. If you remember, we had 4 students in the studio. They were sending a number of people to the national conference, or hoped to. They were planning on going to state. We asked them if they would create a video. We're going to get an update and see what they were able to provide to us as we continue with In Focus on WGTV.
My name is Andrew Clark from Region 10, and I found the best thing from this year's State Leadership Conference was the opportunity to meet new people and have many new friends.
The most memorable moment of my State Leadership Conference this year was being elected the Chapter All-Star by my advisor.
Being more creative.
Making new friends, working together as a team.
Being involved in leadership activities.
Getting first place.
I'm going to California!
Welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I've ditched the tie, yes. And we've moved locations. I'm out in the park to where soon, if you build it, they will come. It's one of those. The pickleball courts are going to be behind me. Now, last time we did this, I was talking to Pam, and I showed my ignorance by having absolutely no idea what pickleball was about. Come to find out, it's been a big thing around here that's been taught in the schools. I didn't know. Shame on me.
That's okay.
I've been looking at the pictures. The court's going to be colorful, but let's catch them up. I'm speaking with Pam Hilligoss. Pam, tell me the organization name.
Well, it's Richmond, Indiana Pickleball.
There you go. And where we are at this moment, probably in 6 weeks or less, there's going to be pickleball courts.
We're hoping for less.
No doubt.
If the rain stops, we'll have 8 courts.
Okay.
And the courts will actually come to the edge of the gravel here. And the courts will have fencing around it, 10-foot fence on the ends and on the sides.
All right.
And then each court will have a 6-foot fence around it.
Okay. Now, I'm going to stop and back up. Don't stop the camera. For someone who didn't hear our original conversation so many months ago, how did this all come about?
Well, there were a group of pickleball players in Richmond that got together, and we wanted to have more courts and make pickleball more available for lots of residents in Richmond and Wayne County. And we sought out a grant, patronicity, through the Indiana Housing Commission. And it was a matching grant, and we raised money, we received the grant, and now we're putting all the money into place.
Okay. We are in Clear Creek Park. There has been some work done on this space since you got your grant money. Talk a little bit about what has actually happened here, because people are looking at that going,
I know.
Oh, really?
I know. like she's excited.
Yeah.
Well, what's happened, originally there was a tennis court here, so the tennis court nets are down, the fencing around the tennis court is down, trees have been taken down, brush has been taken down, there have been 6 new light poles put up by RP&L, and we have new LED lights on top of those poles. Gravel's been put down, it's been expanded, we've had some grading done, we've had cracks sealed, and we've had lots of visitors just who are really excited and awaiting for our courts to come in.
When Ryan and I pulled up, we were going, there's a lot of people there. I didn't know I was interviewing that many people. They're just, you all are just checking on this.
It's our committee. We come a couple of times a week just to see what's going on.
Okay. Who's the committee? Who's working on this?
Well, we work with the city engineer, Greg Steens. He's been a great help.
Okay.
We have the RP&L has been a help with us. The Parks Department, the Street Department has helped. Is that what you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for people who, like me, may not have grown up around pickleball, tell us a little bit about the game. Now, what I'm finding out is it may be the fastest growing sport out there.
It is. It already is the fastest growing sport out there. It's played all over the world.
Okay.
It's played in every state in United States. It is a game, the court is 20 by 40 feet. You can play doubles or you can play singles. Most people play doubles. Some people, you cover less space.
Okay.
A lot of tennis players who no longer can play tennis have now are starting to play pickleball.
Okay.
A lot of badminton players have morphed into pickleball. People of all ages, from young children up until their 90s, can play pickleball, as well as paraplegics, people in wheelchairs. It covers the gambit.
Okay. You were saying, and again, you're talking about the age ranges of people. Most folks would think, okay, people who can't play tennis anymore, they're older. That's not really the case.
That's not really the case. You have lots of pro athlete pickleball players, and so you have a large group of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. It used to be when pickleball first came out, it was considered your grandpa's game. It's no longer your grandpa's game.
Okay. As you all progress, the idea, the hope, is that you all can have tournaments that aren't just local, but regional, at least in scope out here.
Oh, sure. We'll have tournaments. The courts will be gifted to the city once they're built, and then our committee will have tournaments to maintain the courts. And so when a court is posted or when a tournament's posted, anyone can sign up for the tournament.
Okay. They play. Now, you mentioned that there's a group that's playing like every Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday night at the senior center, but there are only 2 courts there, and there aren't lights there.
Okay. So you all have got the lights. You all can control it. When you go to a tournament, and I know you travel to
Yes,
play.
we were in Terre Haute this weekend.
Okay. What's it like? So for people who haven't traveled, is this a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? What's the time frame of the average tournament?
Okay, it depends on how large the tournament is. If it's a really large tournament, they'll have a 60-year-old group that starts on Thursday, because a lot of the time 60-year-olds don't work. And then for working people, they'll go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, sure. But tournaments are a lot of fun. You meet new people. Sometimes there are food trucks there. There's lots of friendship. But typically tournaments are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
When you say a small tournament, how many teams or people?
A small tournament would be maybe 150 people.
That's a small tournament?
That's a small tournament.
Okay. What's a large tournament?
A large tournament might be 2,000 people. That would be something like the U.S. Open or Indian Wells out west.
Wow.
But a small tournament, like 100, 150 people.
How far do people travel in general to participate in this sport? You mentioned you were in Terre Haute. You stay in a regional area generally?
We're going to Atlanta next week for a tournament. So you travel as you see fit.
Okay, and as you want to go.
And some people play pickleball 5 days a week and never go to a tournament, and that's okay too.
Prize money involved? Trophies? Just a chance to brag?
Prize money for professionals, which I'll never be in that category. Medals, and just knowing that you've improved.
Average number of pickleball players that we have here in Wayne County right now that you're aware of, and you may not be aware, obviously, of everyone.
Because the number has grown since we got back from Florida, so it's nice to see new people who've already come out to the senior center. I would say Wayne County, I would say maybe 50.
Okay.
And that's a small group, but we're going to grow. We're going to grow with free clinics to get people excited about the game.
I was going to ask, for people like me who've never played, really haven't been around it, how do we find out? How do we get involved? If we look at this and go, hey, that looks like fun, how do we figure out the rules and everything else?
Okay, you go to the Richmond, Indiana Pickleball Facebook page. You like our page. I'm the administrator. I'll accept you. And then I will be posting when we have free clinics. Free clinics will include, we'll have a paddle for you to practice with or use. Okay. We'll have the balls, and a part of the instruction, we teach you the rules. Pickleball doesn't have a lot of rules, so that's nice. That's one of the things that makes it so appealing. Plus, it's 1 game to 11. So it's not a big time commitment.
Is it an expensive game to get involved in? You mentioned paddles, things of that nature.
You can buy a paddle, $50, and a sleeve of balls, which would be about 3 balls, $10. Okay. You need tennis shoes.
Got to have tennis shoes.
You got to have tennis shoes, and you need a water bottle. But we're going to have water out here, I believe.
All right.
A fountain.
As you all look forward to doing this, do you have a plan for when you think your first tournament might be? Because I assume you all would eventually like to host your own tournament and not have to travel. Will this be big enough?
This would be big enough for a small tournament. Small tournament. Okay. And if you start on Thursday, you can break it down either by age or skill level. That would work. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we'll have a tournament yet this year, because we're going to need to grow our players. And a lot of times new people don't think they're ready for a tournament.
Okay.
You know, but we might do round robins, which would just be fun for people and kind of wet their whistle for an upcoming tournament next year.
All right. What have I not asked you that people need to know besides the fact that by mid-June it's going to be blue, 2 shades of blue and green? Right?
Yes, that we will be offering lessons in the evenings, late evenings for second shift people.
Okay.
We want to target second shift people. We want to target first responders. They really need to go to our Richmond, Indiana Pickleball Facebook page, and they can see what's going on.
All right. Sounds good. Pam Hilligoss with Richmond, Indiana Pickleball, right?
Yep.
I appreciate you giving us an update. Really looking forward to the courts.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more In Focus in just a moment. Hi, I'm Eric, host of Access to the Arts. Join us this month as we talk with Monica Coachline, Andy Dudas, and also John Cook, and we find out some of the things that are taking place this summer all around the area as you get out with the family.
It's unlike any other show that I've seen, and I think that our audience will really, really like it just because of the way they've put it together.
Access to the Arts, Thursday nights at 9 p.m. on WETV, Channel 20.
Hi, I'm Professor Tim Scales and the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship here at Indiana University East, but most importantly, the host of In Your Business. Join me this month when my guest will be Jerry Stamper with Stamper Farms.
Don't always believe in what somebody says. Go do your research, get your findings, and then step forward.
I'd like to invite you to watch In Your Business, WETV, Channel 20, Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m.
Welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're doing kind of an update show, checking in on people, places, events that we have been at before, and we are in Center City speaking with Pastor Matt Smith of Lifted Church. He was nice enough to let us in last year to kind of see what was happening with the building, and we're back for an update. How's it going?
It's going great. We're really excited. Really wanted to be in by now, but I think with construction, that's kind of the way things happen. It just seems to be
dates get pushed back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's setbacks here and there, but we're rolling, and we're really looking. It's really looking good. Really coming along. So.
What have you been able to do? What have you gotten laid out so far?
So we've got a lot of our classrooms all built up. We've got our stage, kind of our worship center. Actually, this is kind of where we're at now with our worship center, our sanctuary. Mm-hmm. So we've got most all that built up. All of our electrical is pretty much ran. All of our lights installed, and so a lot of those big jobs. Our fire alarm system has been installed. They've been in actually this week. Been working on getting all of that ready to go, and so there's a lot of our big tasks. There's quite a bit of smaller things still yet to do, but
Windows were something that you talked about last time. You're going to redo the windows out in front. Is that still to come?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's probably our one of our last big jobs that we still have to do. They're currently working on that now. We're actually using a local company here in town, Catrins, and so they're fabricating and doing all of that stuff kind of behind the scenes, and then they'll be coming in to install. They had told us the end of May, so we'll be following up with them, but hoping in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, but they'll be installing all the glass. A whole new storefront. It will look the same in terms of kind of how it looks cosmetically, but it'll be all new glass, new doors. It will have a fresh look on it, different color scheme as well. So, exciting stuff.
You had members of the congregation doing, I think, a lot of the work, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we brought in crews to do some of these big jobs, most of the demo that we actually had done was a lot of volunteers. I say this all the time, my wife and I, there's no way we could do this without those volunteers. And it's just, it's been a blessing. It truly has. Just literally hammering walls and we're exposing some bricks, so taking plaster off of walls and clean up and taking stuff to the dump. It's been incredible to see the heart of our people, and that they want a place to call home. We're doing portable church right now, and so it's coming along, and so we're definitely grateful for all that they've done too. So
you're currently still at Test. Do you have a planned date for being able to, and I know plans change,
yes,
but
right.
Is there a date, maybe the end of the year? Are you looking at that as a?
We're looking at summer. We are looking at summer now. We're just.
Now see, you put yourself in that corner.
Oh man, and I know, and so like here I am talking to you, and everybody's hearing me, and I'm saying this, but I had some dates before that we didn't meet, unfortunately.
That's why I gave you till the end of the year.
Right, I know, and I appreciate that. But yeah, we're as I said, a lot of our big jobs are done, and I think as far as kind of meeting those expectations, the codes, and some of those things, all the inspections that we go through, and there's a lot of things that we've kind of already done and completed. So we would love to. The school year, we're out for the summer break now, and the school has been great to work with. We rent that space, of course, and just knowing kind of we're in that space now, we would love to be in there before, we'd love to be in here rather, before the school year starts back. Okay. So that's kind of a goal that we're shooting for.
Okay, well then we'll be checking in and seeing how things go. I know one of the things that you all have done as an outreach over the last 5 years or so, I believe, is an event brings the community in free, and you've used Elstro Plaza. That's got to be coming up. You mentioned summertime, the kids are out. What's happening with that?
Yes, we call it Park Party, and so this is our 5th year doing it, and so it's just been incredible. We started at the band shell there at Glen Miller. Last year we were at Elstro. It is a free community event. It is on June 22nd from 4 to 7 p.m. And so there's going to be food, bounce houses, a lot of activities. There'll be a lot of giveaways. We're doing a lot of drawings and giveaways. Some really, really cool prizes as well. We're going to have some food trucks down there. This is the cool thing about that. We have food trucks come down, but we pay for the entire experience. So you can eat from the food truck. You literally go to the food truck, you tell them what you want, and it's on us. And so we actually push this as our church. Hey, this is just a community event we want to do. Right. This is not really, we don't even really call it an outreach as much. Like, hey, we're not trying to get people to come to our church. We just want to love on the city. And so that's kind of the way we approach that. Is like, hey, we love our city. We love to serve our city. We want to provide a really cool experience for them. So yeah, June 22nd, 4 to 7 at Elstro. We're really excited about that.
Okay. We will be looking for the changes for everything that's going on here. I wish you all the best of luck.
Yes, thank you.
I know that we took a little bit of your time, and you probably need to go back and nail or hang something probably.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and bring you up to speed on everything going on.
Quite all right. Pastor Matt Smith from Lifted Church. Thanks for watching this week's In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11. This broadcast of In Focus is being made possible through the support of Reed Health. Reed Health, right beside you. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.